This audiobook unveils an ancient secret. Silence is not emptiness, it is power. Beneath the constant noise of your mind lies a force greater than words, greater than thought itself. As you listen, you will learn how to access this stillness and unlock the creative energy that shapes your reality. Silence is power. Introduction. In the depths of your being lies a truth so fundamental, so essential, that it transcends the need for words. The endless chatter of thoughts, that perpetual dialogue you've mistaken for yourself, is but a veil obscuring your true nature. This sacred wisdom, passed down through countless generations, speaks of a power that awakens only in the spaces between thoughts. You have lived believing that your identity resides in the constant stream of mental commentary, in the endless narratives you tell yourself about who you are and what you can achieve. Yet this belief, so deeply ingrained, is the very chain that has bound you. The voice in your head is not your essence. It is merely a habit, a pattern learned through years of unconscious conditioning. When you allow yourself to sink beneath the surface of thought, to rest in the stillness that has always been there, something extraordinary unfolds. In these moments of pure awareness, you touch the infinite source from which all creation springs. This is not a theoretical concept, but a living truth that has been known by the wise throughout the ages. The universe, in its boundless wisdom, operates not through words but through the silent language of being. It is in stillness that seeds germinate, that flowers bloom, that stars are born. This same creative force flows through you, waiting to be recognized, waiting to be unleashed. As you learn to quiet the mind's endless commentary, you begin to experience yourself as you truly are, vast, unlimited, connected to the very source of existence. This is not about suppressing thoughts or forcing silence. It is about discovering the awareness that exists prior to all thinking, the consciousness that witnesses the dance of thoughts without becoming entangled in them. In this sacred space of inner quiet, you access a power that words cannot describe, that the thinking mind cannot grasp. Here, in the silence, you become a pure vessel for the universe's creative force. Part 1. Awakening to the Power of Silence. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Mental Noise. In a quiet village where time seemed to move at its own gentle pace lived Walter Briggs, a man whose mind knew no rest. His thoughts churned like a relentless waterfall, each drop a worry, a regret, an endless internal dialogue that left him exhausted yet unable to find peace. Every conversation became a theater in his mind, replaying endlessly with different scenarios, different outcomes, none bringing satisfaction. One autumn afternoon, as shadows lengthened across cobblestone streets, Walter's restless feet carried him to an old watchmaker's shop. Inside, amidst the rhythmic ticking of countless timepieces, sat an elderly craftsman with eyes that held the wisdom of ages. Without a word, the watchmaker placed a broken pocket watch in Walter's trembling hands. "The time you seek is found in silence," the old man whispered, his voice barely louder than the gentle tick-tocks surrounding them. These words, simple yet mysterious, marked the beginning of Walter's transformation. You see, Walter's story mirrors your own journey. Like him, you have lived within the confines of ceaseless mental chatter, believing that this stream of thoughts holds the answers to life's mysteries. Yet this noise is merely a veil, a distraction from the profound wisdom that dwells in stillness. Think of your mind as a radio, constantly tuned to a station of static. Beneath this interference lies a crystal-clear signal, the voice of universal truth. But as long as you remain captivated by the static, this deeper wisdom remains unheard. Years passed, and Walter returned to the watchmaker's shop, his steps now steady, his presence peaceful. The watch he carried was no longer broken, but ticked with perfect precision. "I stopped trying to fix time," he said, and discovered that time was never broken. When Walter ceased his endless analysis, life began to flow naturally, each moment unfolding with effortless grace. Now it is time for you to experience this truth directly. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. For the next 5 minutes, observe your thoughts as you would watch clouds drifting across the sky. Do not engage with them. Do not judge them. Simply witness their passing. Notice how beneath these thought clouds exists a vast, peaceful sky of awareness, your true nature, eternally present, eternally silent. This practice, handed down through generations of wisdom seekers, holds the power to transform your relationship with thought itself. In these moments of witnessing, you touch the timeless silence from which all creation springs. Chapter 2. The Prison of Self-Talk. In the dense forests of Vermont, where autumn leaves whispered ancient secrets, Marjorie Ellis crafted her stories in solitude. Her cabin, a testament to simplicity, echoed with her constant narration. From dawn until dusk, her voice wove tales into the air, a ceaseless stream of characters and plots that she would later commit to paper. Like so many, she believed her endless verbalization was the source of her creativity. Then came the fever that changed everything. For weeks she lay in silence, her voice stolen by illness. At first, this enforced quiet felt like imprisonment. Her mind thrashed against the walls of stillness, desperate to speak the stories that burned within. Yet as days passed, something extraordinary emerged from this imposed silence. You see, Marjorie's experience unveils a truth that most never glimpse. The constant internal dialogue that fills your mind is not the source of creativity or wisdom. It is their greatest obstacle. Each thought you speak to yourself becomes a brick in an invisible wall, separating you from direct experience of life's boundless mysteries. In her silence, Marjorie discovered what you too must learn. Beneath the endless chatter lies a wellspring of pure inspiration. When her own voice fell quiet, she began to hear something else, not with her ears, but with her entire being. The stories that emerged were unlike anything she had created before, flowing from a source deeper than thought itself. This revelation awaits you as well. The mental monologue that accompanies your every moment, the running commentary, the judgments, the endless rehearsals of past and future, has become so familiar that you mistake it for reality itself. Yet it is merely a habit, one that obscures the profound silence from which all true wisdom emerges. Take your journal now and spend 10 minutes recording every thought that crosses your mind. Hold nothing back. Capture the mundane worries, the repeated phrases, the fragments of memory and anticipation. When the time is complete, read these thoughts aloud to yourself. Notice their circular nature, their repetitive patterns. See how they create a web of words that entangles your consciousness. This practice, though simple, holds transformative power. In witnessing your thoughts laid bare on paper, you begin to recognize them not as truth, but as passing clouds in the vast sky of awareness. Like Marjorie, you too can discover the freedom that lies beyond the prison of endless internal dialogue. As you study these written thoughts, notice how many of them are recycled worries, old stories you tell yourself, or judgments that serve no purpose. This recognition is the first step toward liberation, for when you see the mechanical nature of mind chatter, you create space between yourself and these thoughts. In this space dwells the profound silence that has always been your true home. Chapter 3. You are not your thoughts, you are the observer. In the bustling city streets of 1952, Walter Thompson adjusted his tie and checked his notepad one final time. As a veteran journalist, he had interviewed countless subjects, each story neatly categorized in his mind before he even began. This assignment would be no different. Another charlatan claiming mystical powers, another exposé waiting to be written. The mystic's dwelling stood apart from the urban chaos, a small, whitewashed building that seemed to exist in its own pocket of stillness. Inside, an elderly man sat cross-legged on a simple mat, his eyes carrying the weight of centuries. "You've already written this story in your mind," the mystic said before Walter could speak, "just as you've written the script for every moment of your life." Walter opened his mouth to protest, but something in the mystic's gaze stopped him. In that moment, time seemed to slow, and Walter became acutely aware of the constant narrative running through his mind, the endless judgments, assumptions, and predictions that had shaped his every experience. "Your thoughts are not your own," the mystic continued. "They are inherited patterns playing on repeat. Until you see this, you remain their prisoner." In that instant, Walter recognized the truth. Every article he'd written, every relationship he'd formed, every decision he'd made, all had been filtered through unconscious patterns he'd never questioned. The realization struck him with the force of lightning. He had never truly lived, only reacted. This truth extends to you as well. Like Walter, you move through life believing your thoughts are your own, yet they are merely echoes, patterns inherited from family, society, and countless generations before. Until you become aware of these patterns, they control your every move, creating the same situations again and again. Consider Martha, the seamstress who worked in a small shop near the harbor. Day after day, she stitched together garments, while her mind stitched together the same old stories, tales of limitation, of not enough, of dreams forever deferred. Yet one morning, as she threaded her needle, she noticed the repetitive nature of her thoughts. Like the familiar patterns she sewed into fabric, her mind followed the same designs endlessly. This recognition became her liberation. With each stitch, she began to observe her thoughts rather than be consumed by them. When old patterns arose, the doubt, the fear, the self-judgment, she saw them for what they were, inherited designs that no longer served her. To break free from your own unconscious patterns, begin this practice. Throughout your day, pause at random moments. Notice the thought currently running through your mind. Don't judge it. Simply observe its nature. Is it a worry about the future? A replay of the past? A judgment of yourself or others? Make a mental note of these patterns. When you catch yourself in an old thought loop, consciously choose to interrupt it. Like Martha with her needle and thread, you have the power to create new patterns, but first, you must see the ones that bind you. Chapter 4. The silent space between thoughts holds the key. In the verdant fields of Hampshire, Eleanor Mason knelt beside her beloved garden, her weathered journal open beside her. While others saw only flowers and leaves, she witnessed the sacred dance of creation itself. Through decades of patient observation, she uncovered a truth that had eluded even the most learned scholars of her time. You see, Eleanor understood what you have forgotten, that life flows not from constant motion, but from the spaces between. Just as music exists because of the pauses between notes, Consciousness blooms in the gaps between thoughts. Your mind, like a cluttered garden, requires spaces to breathe. Watch how a flower unfolds. There is movement, yes, but between each subtle shift lies a moment of perfect stillness. It is in these intervals that the miracle occurs. The same principle governs your own transformation. When you fill every moment with mental chatter, you leave no room for wisdom to take root. Eleanor documented this phenomenon meticulously. She noted how seeds sprouted not through force, but through surrender to the rhythm of silence and action. The most vibrant blooms emerged from beds that had lain fallow, gathering strength in stillness. Nature herself taught Eleanor what sages have whispered through the ages. Power resides in the pause. Your mind, like Eleanor's garden, holds infinite potential. But this potential remains dormant when crowded by constant thought. Just as plants require space between them to flourish, your consciousness needs intervals of silence to expand. In her final years, Eleanor made her most profound discovery. The answers she had sought through endless study had been present all along, waiting in the quiet moments between her searching. The universe speaks not in the tornado of thoughts, but in the stillness after the storm. To access this timeless wisdom yourself, practice this ancient breathing meditation. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Breathe naturally, following the rhythm of your breath. Notice the pause after each exhale, that moment of perfect stillness before the next inhale begins. Rest your attention in these spaces. With each breath, allow these intervals of silence to expand. Feel how wisdom naturally arises when you stop filling the space with thought. Continue for several minutes, letting the silence teach you its secrets. Chapter 5. Intuition speaks when the mind is silent. In the quiet observatory atop Mount Wilson, Benjamin Carter adjusted his telescope beneath the vast expanse of stars. Night after night, he searched the heavens, not merely for celestial bodies, but for answers to the mysteries that stirred his soul. You too have gazed upward, wondering about the infinite nature of existence. Like Benjamin, you sense there is more to reality than what appears before your eyes. On that fateful night, as he peered through his lens, Benjamin witnessed something that transcended scientific explanation. A star that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, defying the laws of classical physics. This revelation mirrors an ancient truth. Reality is not fixed, but fluid. You exist not in one world, but in infinite potential worlds, each vibrating at its own frequency. Just as light can be both wave and particle, you are both the observer and creator of your reality. The universe operates like a cosmic kaleidoscope with countless versions of existence overlapping and interweaving. Each choice you make, each thought you hold, determines which reality becomes your experience. This is not mere theory, it is the fundamental nature of creation itself. In a small classroom in Vermont, Eleanor Wright stood before her students, teaching the same lesson she had taught for 15 years. But something shifted when she realized that her current life was merely one thread in an infinite tapestry of possibilities. She understood that parallel versions of herself were living different lives, making different choices. Instead of feeling trapped by circumstances, Eleanor recognized she could tune into any reality she chose. Through focused intention and aligned energy, she began stepping into the version of herself who had already achieved her dreams. Within months, her life transformed, not through external change, but through internal alignment with a different probability stream. Your power lies not in forcing change, but in selecting which version of reality you experience. Like a radio tuning to different frequencies, you can align with any potential timeline. The version of you who has already manifested your desires exists now, waiting for you to step into that frequency. To experience this truth directly, practice this quantum alignment visualization. Close your eyes and center yourself in stillness. Imagine countless versions of reality existing simultaneously, like transparent sheets of glass stacked upon each other. Feel the presence of the version of you who has already manifested your deepest desires. Notice how they move, think, and feel. Begin to align your energy with this version of yourself. Breathe as they breathe. See through their eyes. Feel their certainty, their peace, their knowing. Spend several minutes inhabiting this reality, allowing it to become more solid and real. When ready, open your eyes, carrying this aligned energy with you. Chapter 6. The Death of Ego, the Birth of Limitless You. In the bustling streets of New York City, where ambition echoed through concrete canyons, Franklin Hayes commanded attention wherever he walked. His words carried weight, each syllable carefully crafted to project power and success. In the grand halls of financial institutions, his voice resonated with authority, and his presence demanded respect. Yet beneath this carefully constructed facade lay a truth waiting to emerge. When the market crashed in 1929, Franklin's empire crumbled like a house of cards. His wealth, status, and carefully chosen words all vanished overnight. For the first time in decades, he found himself without a script. In that devastating silence, something extraordinary occurred. As the noise of his former life faded away, Franklin encountered a presence he had never known. His true self, untouched by titles or possessions. This presence existed before words, before thoughts, before the story he had woven about who he was. You too carry this presence within you. Behind every thought, beneath every self-definition, lives an awareness vast as the sky. This awareness watches your thoughts but is not contained by them. It observes your stories, but remains free from their limitations. The ego, that collection of thoughts, memories, and labels you call I, exists only through constant mental chatter. Like a shadow needing light to exist, it requires an endless stream of internal dialogue to maintain its illusion. Yet when you allow silence to enter, when you cease the constant naming and labeling of experience, this false self begins to dissolve. Franklin discovered this truth not through gaining, but through losing everything that once defined him. In the depths of silence, he realized that true power had never resided in his words or wealth. It lived in the spacious awareness that remained when all else fell away. To experience this truth directly, find a quiet space and close your eyes. Ask yourself, who am I without my thoughts? Let this question penetrate deeply. Don't rush to answer. Simply rest in the silence that follows. When thoughts arise, gently return to the question, who am I without my thoughts? Notice what remains when all mental activity subsides. Stay with this practice for 10 minutes, allowing yourself to sink deeper into the silence beneath your thinking mind. Chapter 7. The Universe Communicates in Silence. In the misty hills of Vermont, Margaret Doyle would sit beneath ancient oaks, her notebook untouched beside her. While other poets rushed to capture nature's beauty in verse, she discovered a deeper truth, one that transcended words themselves. You have been taught that manifestation requires constant affirmation, endless requests to the universe. Yet in this teaching lies a fundamental misunderstanding. The universe does not speak English, French, or any human tongue. It communicates through silence, through the spaces between moments. When you cease the endless internal dialogue about what you want, When you stop explaining your desires to the universe, something miraculous occurs. In that sacred silence, you align with the natural frequency of creation itself. This is why the most powerful manifestations often arrive when you have stopped asking for them. Margaret discovered this wisdom one autumn morning. As she sat by a stream, she noticed how creation moved in perfect harmony without a single word being spoken. The water knew precisely where to flow. The leaves transformed from green to gold without instruction. Birds navigated vast distances without maps or directions. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, operates through silent knowing. When you align with this silence, you enter the same flow that guides planets in their orbits and flowers toward the sun. Your desires manifest not because you have convinced the universe of their worth, but because you have attuned yourself to the silent frequency where all possibilities already exist. To practice this ancient wisdom, find a quiet place in nature. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Instead of focusing on sounds, turn your attention to the spaces between them. The pause between bird calls, the stillness between gusts of wind, the silence between rustling leaves. Notice how these silent spaces are not empty, but filled with a living presence. Remain in this practice for 15 minutes, allowing yourself to attune to the universe's silent language. In doing so, you align with the very force that orchestrates all creation. Remember, true power does not shout its intentions. It rests in silent certainty, knowing that what is meant to manifest will arise naturally, just as flowers bloom without being told to open. Chapter 8, Letting Go, the Secret Power of Surrender. In the vast expanse of the Atlantic, where sky meets sea in an endless dance, Captain Henry Atwood gripped the ship's wheel with white knuckles. The waves rose like mountains, threatening to swallow his vessel whole. For 20 years, he had commanded ships through storms, believing that control meant survival. You too have been taught to fight against life's currents, to resist what appears threatening, to control what seems chaotic. Yet within this resistance lies the very source of your struggle. When you battle against what is, you create turbulence in the stream of manifestation. The elder sailor who approached Henry that stormy night carried the wisdom of generations. His words, barely audible above the howling wind, contained a truth as old as the sea itself. The ocean does not listen to your shouting, "Let go." In that moment, Henry faced a choice that you now face: to continue the exhausting fight against life's flow, or to surrender into something greater. When Henry finally released his grip, when he allowed the ship to move with the waves rather than against them, he discovered what mystics have known for millennia. Surrender is not weakness, but the highest form of power. The ship, no longer fighting the ocean's natural rhythm, found its way through the storm unscathed. This truth extends far beyond the realm of sailing. When you release your mental resistance to what is, when you cease the internal struggle against reality, you align with the very force that moves worlds. Your desires manifest not through force but through flow. The ocean taught Henry what life now teaches you, that the universe responds not to demands, but to trust. Every wave that threatened to destroy his ship actually carried him closer to his destination, just as every challenge you face contains within it the seeds of your transformation. For your practice in surrender, take a piece of paper and write down something that has been causing you persistent worry or concern. Hold the paper in your hands and close your eyes. For the next 10 minutes, sit in complete silence, allowing yourself to release all attachment to how this situation should resolve. Feel the weight of control lifting from your shoulders. Just as Henry learned to trust the ocean's wisdom, Trust that the universe holds a perfect solution, one that will reveal itself, not through force, but through surrender. Chapter 9. Why Overthinking Destroys Manifestation. In a small studio apartment in Brooklyn, where sunlight filtered through dust-laden windows, Edith Holloway stood before an empty canvas. Her desk overflowed with detailed sketches, studies of light, shadow, and form that never transformed into paintings. Each pencil stroke captured her hesitation, her mind's endless critique of what could go wrong. You know this state well. Like Edith, you analyze every possibility, weigh every outcome, until action becomes impossible. Your mind creates elaborate plans while life passes by unlived. This endless mental chatter does not protect you, it paralyzes you. When Thomas Vail, an established painter, visited Edith's studio, he saw not her technical skill, but her prison of perfectionism. Without warning, he gathered her pencils and sketches, tucking them away in a drawer. In their place, he set down a brush and palette. "Stop thinking," he said, his voice carrying the weight of wisdom. "Just paint." In that moment, Edith faced what you now face, the choice between the safety of analysis and the freedom of pure expression. When she finally silenced her mind's commentary, when she allowed her hand to move without judgment, something extraordinary emerged. Colors flowed, forms took shape, and the canvas came alive with an energy that no amount of planning could have created. This truth extends beyond art. It touches every aspect of manifestation. When you silence the mind's constant evaluation, when you step out of the paralysis of overthinking, you align with the creative force that flows through all things. Your desires manifest not through endless analysis, but through inspired action born of silence. The painting that emerged from Edith's brush that day became her most celebrated work, not because she had planned it perfectly, but because she had finally allowed herself to create from that silent space where true inspiration dwells. For your practice in silent creation, set aside 15 minutes. Choose any creative activity, writing, drawing, dancing, or even arranging flowers. As you engage, notice when your mind wants to analyze or judge. Let these thoughts pass without attachment. Move from that space of pure being, where action flows naturally, unimpeded by mental noise. This is not about creating something perfect. It is about experiencing the freedom that comes when you release the need to think your way through every moment. Chapter 10. The First Step. In the lamplit study of a New England home, Arthur Finch sat surrounded by towers of books. Each volume represented a question, a pursuit of knowledge that had consumed his days at the university. Yet despite the wealth of information at his fingertips, an emptiness echoed through his being. You recognize this feeling, the endless seeking, the belief that the next book, the next teaching will finally fill that space within. Like Arthur, you have searched everywhere except the one place that holds all answers, the silent void within yourself. One winter evening, as snow fell softly outside his window, Arthur did something unprecedented. He stopped searching. No books, no questions, no desperate reaching for understanding. He simply sat, allowing himself to sink into the vast silence he had avoided his entire life. What he discovered, what you will discover, is that the void is not empty at all. It is the womb of all creation, the space where every possibility exists before taking form. Those who fear this silence miss its magnificent power. They fill their lives with noise, with endless doing and seeking, never realizing that everything they desire already exists in that quiet space within. Arthur's revelation came not in words or theories, but in direct experience. The silence he had feared became a gateway to something vast and limitless. In that space beyond thought, beyond seeking, he found what decades of academic pursuit could never provide, the living truth of his own infinite nature. This is the great paradox. What you seek through endless activity can only be found in complete stillness. The void is not your enemy. It is the source of all manifestation, all power, all knowing. When you embrace it, you tap into the same force that creates universes. For your practice in embracing the void, find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed. Sit comfortably with eyes closed. Release all expectations, all need to find or achieve anything. Simply allow yourself to rest in the silence. If thoughts arise, let them pass without resistance. The void will reveal itself naturally when you stop trying to fill it. Remain here for 20 minutes, allowing yourself to become familiar with this infinite space within. This is not meditation as you know it. This is direct communion with the source of all creation. In this practice, you learn to trust the silence, to recognize it not as emptiness to be feared, but as the fertile ground from which all manifestation springs. Part 2, Mastering Inner Stillness. Chapter 11, The Power of Pure Awareness. In the early days of the American Railroad, when steel tracks carved paths through untamed wilderness, James Whitmore stood as a testament to human precision. His calculations never failed, his schedules ran like clockwork, yet within his mind churned an endless sea of uncertainty. You know this state well, the perpetual questioning, the ceaseless analysis that clouds your vision and fragments your power. Like James, you have believed that control comes through mental activity, through the constant evaluation of every moment. One autumn evening, as the sun painted the horizon in shades of amber, James found himself standing at the edge of an open field. Before him stretched the railroad tracks, unwavering and still. In that moment, something shifted in his perception. The tracks, in their perfect stillness, guided massive engines across continents without ever moving themselves. They simply existed, allowing the journey to unfold. This truth reveals itself to you now. Pure awareness requires no effort, no strain, no constant adjustment. Like those steel rails, your consciousness serves as a foundation for life's movement. When you cease the endless mental corrections, when you stop trying to control every outcome, something remarkable occurs. Life flows naturally, powerfully, without resistance. James discovered what masters have known through the ages. The mind's role is not to direct traffic, but to provide space for movement. In stillness, it becomes like those tracks, unwavering, certain, allowing tremendous force to flow through it without interference. For your practice in pure awareness, find a comfortable place where you can observe life unfolding around you. It might be a park bench, a window overlooking a busy street, or even your own garden. Simply watch without labeling what you see, without judging or analyzing. Notice how the world continues perfectly without your mental commentary. Remain in this state of silent observation for 15 minutes, allowing yourself to become the still tracks rather than the busy train. Through this practice, you begin to embody the power of unwavering awareness. Like the railroad tracks that guide without moving, your consciousness becomes a clear channel for manifestation, steady, certain, and free from the turbulence of constant thought. Chapter 12, Silent Mind Magnetic Presence. In the glittering ballrooms of 1928, where words flowed like champagne and charm was currency, Caroline Mercer reigned as the queen of conversation. Her wit sparkled brighter than the crystal chandeliers above, yet true power eluded her grasp. You recognize this pattern. The belief that influence comes through clever words and constant engagement. Like Caroline, you may have filled every silence with sound, never realizing that genuine magnetism operates on a deeper frequency. One evening, as laughter and chatter swirled through a grand Manhattan salon, the energy of the room suddenly shifted. A man had entered, not with fanfare or announcement, but with such profound presence that conversations naturally hushed. He moved through the crowd like still water, commanding attention without demanding it. His silence carried more weight than all the clever phrases combined. This truth now unveils itself. When you cease filling space with words, your energy expands. Those who understand this law of attraction know that silence is not empty. It is full of magnetic power. The universe responds not to what you say, but to what you radiate. Caroline watched as people gravitated toward this silent force, drawn by something beyond words. In his presence, others felt more alive, more heard, more seen. She realized that she had been diminishing her own power by drowning it in constant expression. Through observation, she discovered the ancient wisdom that now passes to you. True presence needs no advertisement. When the mind grows still, your energy naturally attracts all that aligns with your highest good. Like a deep river that moves silently yet carries great force, your quiet presence becomes irresistible. For your practice in magnetic presence, choose an interaction where you would normally dominate the conversation. Instead, maintain inner stillness. Listen not just to words, but to the energy beneath them. Notice how your presence affects others when you stop trying to fill every moment with speech. Feel how your own power amplifies in the spaces between words. Watch as your silent awareness begins to influence the field around you, drawing others into its peaceful orbit. This is the forgotten art of magnetic presence, where stillness speaks louder than words. Like a lighthouse casting its steady beam across stormy waters, your centered presence creates a sanctuary that others naturally seek. Those around you will begin to match your frequency, their own restless energies settling into alignment with your unwavering calm. This ancient power of stillness has been known to the wise throughout time. For in the quiet depths of being lies a force more compelling than any spoken persuasion. Chapter 13. Dismantling the Inner Critic Through Stillness. In the dimly lit theaters of 1935, Harold Vaughan sat alone, surrounded by crumpled papers and broken dreams. Each time his pen touched paper, a familiar voice emerged from the shadows of his mind. Not good enough. Never will be. You know this voice well, the relentless critic that haunts your own creative moments, questioning every choice, every action, every thought. Like Harold, you may have spent years locked in combat with this internal judge, believing that if you could just argue well enough, prove yourself worthy enough, the voice would finally fall silent. Night after night, Harold waged this war within himself until chance, or perhaps fate, led him to a small cafe where an elderly writer sat nursing a cup of coffee. The old man's eyes held a wisdom that spoke of battles long won. The critic in your mind, he said, gains power only when you fight it. Stop arguing with shadows. Here lies a truth that transforms. The inner critic is not your enemy. It is merely a voice, as insubstantial as morning mist. Its power comes not from its words, but from your belief in them. When you engage in mental combat, you give it life. Harold discovered what you are about to learn, that silence is the ultimate answer to self-doubt, not a silence of suppression or denial, but the silence of pure observation. Like watching clouds pass across an endless sky, you can let critical thoughts drift by without reaching up to grasp them. The next time Harold sat down to write, the voice remained, whispering its familiar doubts. But something had changed. He no longer tried to silence it or prove it wrong. He simply wrote, allowing the critic to speak into a void of non-engagement. With each passing day, the voice grew fainter, not because it had been defeated, but because it had been understood for what it was, merely thoughts, not truth. For your practice in transcending self-criticism, take pen to paper. Write down every doubt, every criticism that echoes in your mind, then sit in complete silence. Watch these thoughts as if they belong to someone else. Notice how, without your engagement, they begin to lose their sting. Feel the power that comes not from winning the argument, but from stepping outside it entirely. This is the ancient way of mastering the mind, not through combat, but through the profound power of silent observation. Like a sage watching clouds drift across the mountaintop, you become the witness to your own thoughts, neither grasping nor rejecting them. In this sacred practice handed down through generations of mystics and masters, you discover that true dominion over the mind comes not from force, but from the divine art of watchful stillness. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. Why the Most Powerful People Speak Less. In the bustling courthouse of 1942, Eleanor Banks stood ready, her arguments polished like weapons. Her mind raced with rebuttals, counterpoints, and clever phrases, the tools she believed gave her strength. Yet something was about to shift her understanding forever. You too may believe, as Eleanor once did, that influence stems from the ability to outspeak others. The world has taught you that power lies in having the last word, in crafting the perfect response. But wisdom whispers a different truth. Judge Harrison Montgomery presided over Eleanor's cases with an energy that commanded the room without effort. His presence alone brought order to chaos, and when he spoke, which was rare, his words carried the weight of mountains. Eleanor watched, mystified, as attorneys fell silent mid-argument at his slightest gesture. The truth revealed itself slowly. Power does not announce itself. Like gravity, it simply is. Those who understand this law of nature never waste energy proving their worth. They know, as you will come to know, that true authority needs no defense. One afternoon, after a particularly heated case, Judge Montgomery shared a secret that would transform Eleanor's practice forever. The universe, he said, responds not to our words but to our energy. When you speak from emptiness, you create more emptiness. When you speak from power, even silence moves mountains. Watch closely those who truly lead. They do not fill space with endless words. They do not rush to speak. Like the eye of a storm, they remain centered while chaos spins around them. Their power comes not from what they say, but from what they are. Eleanor learned to let silence be her strength. In court, she spoke half as much but achieved twice the results. Her presence, like the judges, began to carry its own authority. She discovered what you are now discovering, that power is not granted by external validation but emerges from within when you stop seeking it through words. For your practice in embodying true power, spend one day speaking only when necessary. Notice how this shifts your energy. Observe how others respond not to your words, but to your presence. Feel how each carefully chosen statement carries more weight than 1,000 unnecessary ones. This is the path to authentic influence, not through the multiplication of words, but through their distillation into pure power. Like an alchemist transforming base metals into gold, you will learn to transmute scattered thoughts into concentrated wisdom. When you master this art of sacred silence, your very presence becomes a force of nature, touching souls and moving mountains without uttering a single unnecessary word. Chapter 15. Quantum Manifestation and the Silent Mind. In the dimly lit workshop of his Boston home, Victor Langley hunched over blueprints, his mind racing with calculations and possibilities. For years, he had approached invention through pure intellect, believing that if he thought hard enough, solutions would emerge. His desk overflowed with scattered notes, evidence of a mind trying to force creation through willpower alone. You too may recognize this pattern within yourself. The belief that answers come through mental effort, through pushing and straining against the fabric of reality. Yet the universe holds a deeper truth, one that Victor was about to discover. One evening, exhausted from endless thinking, Victor simply stopped. His mind, for the first time in years, fell silent. In that pristine moment of stillness, something extraordinary happened. The solution he had sought for so long appeared in his consciousness, fully formed, like a gift from the infinite. This reveals a fundamental law of manifestation. The quantum field responds not to mental noise, but to silent intention. When you cease the endless internal dialogue, you open yourself to receive. Like a radio finely tuned to the correct frequency, clarity arrives not through effort, but through alignment. Victor's breakthrough came not from thinking harder, but from letting go. In the space between thoughts, he discovered what you are now learning, that the mind is not a creator but a receiver. Its role is not to force solutions, but to become still enough to allow universal intelligence to flow through it. For your practice in receiving through silence, find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and hold your desire in your mind, not with words or analysis, but as a pure, wordless intention. Let your awareness rest in complete stillness, allowing the quantum field to align with your silent knowing. Remain in this state for several minutes, trusting that what you seek is already arranging itself in the invisible realm. Remember, the universe does not need your mental interference to manifest your desires. It requires only your silent, unwavering intention. Like a seed planted in fertile soil, your pure intention grows naturally when given space and stillness. The more you step back from endless analysis and mental chatter, the more clearly your desires can take root in the quantum field of infinite possibilities. Trust in this sacred process. The same force that orchestrates the dance of galaxies knows precisely how to bring your dreams into being. Chapter 16. Meditation, the gateway to infinite creation. In a bustling hospital ward in 1923, Dorothy Campbell moved swiftly between beds, surrounded by the constant din of suffering. The air hung heavy with moans of pain, worried whispers, and the clattering of medical instruments. Each day, she absorbed the chaos like a sponge, carrying the weight of others' anguish in her own heart. You may recognize this pattern in your own life. The tendency to become overwhelmed by the noise around you, to let external chaos seep into your inner sanctuary. Yet within you lies a power greater than any disturbance. One morning before her shift, Dorothy encountered an elderly patient who radiated an inexplicable peace despite his illness. When she asked his secret, he simply smiled and taught her to sit in silence, to breathe consciously, to find the still point within the storm. What Dorothy discovered, and what you are now uncovering, is that silence holds transformative power. It is not an absence, but a presence. Not emptiness, but fullness. In those quiet moments before dawn, she learned that true healing begins in stillness. As she practiced this ancient art of inner silence, something remarkable occurred. Her presence alone began to soothe patients. Without speaking, she brought calm to rooms filled with anxiety. Through her own inner stillness, she created a field of peace that touched everyone around her. This reveals a universal truth. When you master silence within, you master life without. The noise of the world cannot disturb the one who has found their center in stillness. Like Dorothy, you have the power to transform your environment not through action, but through presence. Now find a comfortable position and close your eyes. For the next 5 minutes, simply observe your breath. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your chest, the subtle rhythm of life flowing through you. When thoughts arise, let them pass like clouds in the sky, always returning to the anchor of your breath. In this silence, you touch the healing power that has existed within you all along. Through this practice, you join countless others who have discovered that true power lies not in doing, but in being. Not in noise, but in silence. Let this moment be your gateway to that timeless wisdom that sages and mystics have guarded through the ages. As you rest in this sacred stillness, you become one with the eternal current of consciousness that flows through all things. This is the secret that has transformed lives since the dawn of time. The understanding that within the depths of silence lies the seed of all creation. Chapter 17. Your energy speaks louder than words. In the bustling financial district of New York, Joseph Sinclair paced outside the mahogany doors of the boardroom, rehearsing his pitch one final time. His words were perfect, his numbers precise. Yet when he stepped inside to present, something invisible stood between him and success. You see, Joseph had fallen into the same trap that ensnares so many, believing that power lies in words alone. He spoke with conviction, cited facts and figures, made compelling arguments. But beneath his polished presentation, an energy of desperation leaked through. The board members didn't reject his proposal because of what he said. They rejected it because of what he silently communicated. The universe responds not to your words, but to your vibration. When you speak from a place of need, of trying to prove yourself, others sense this unconsciously. Their resistance is not to your ideas, but to the energy you project. 3 months later, Joseph encountered William Hayes, a retired executive known for his ability to close impossible deals. "Show me your pitch," William said. Joseph began his carefully crafted presentation, but William raised his hand after just 30 seconds. "Stop talking," he said. "Your words are strong, but your energy is weak. People don't believe your words. They believe your energy." This truth revolutionized Joseph's understanding of power. He learned that before any meeting, any negotiation, any important moment, he needed to first master his inner state. In silence, he discovered how to project certainty without speaking a word. The next time Joseph entered a boardroom, he didn't try to convince anyone of anything. He simply carried himself with the quiet confidence of one who knows their worth. The deal closed itself. Your energy precedes you into every room. It announces your beliefs about yourself before you speak a single word. When you master the art of silent power, you no longer need to prove your value. Others feel it naturally. Sacred practice, the mirror of energy. For the next 3 days, conduct this ancient practice of energy awareness. Enter each interaction with minimal words, focusing instead on your presence. Notice how others respond to your energy when you're not trying to fill the space with words. Observe their body language, their level of openness, their natural inclination to trust or doubt you. Don't analyze or judge what you observe. Simply witness how your silent energy shapes each encounter, noting the subtle dance of interaction that unfolds when you step back from the need to fill every moment with words. Watch as others respond to your presence, as the space between words becomes charged with meaning and possibility. In this awareness lies the key to authentic power, a truth known to the masters of every age who understood that true influence flows not from what we say, but from who we are in our deepest essence. Chapter 18. Silencing Fear and Doubt Instantly. In the dimly lit halls of Carnegie Hall, Ruth Davis paced backstage, her mind racing with familiar fears. Her fingers trembled as she touched the pearl necklace at her throat, a ritual that had accompanied every performance for 15 years. You too know this feeling. The racing thoughts that create storms of anxiety, the mental noise that drowns out your natural grace. Like Ruth, you felt the paralysis that comes when fear fills every corner of consciousness. That evening, moments before her performance, Ruth encountered Thomas Bennett, a blind pianist whose music moved audiences to tears. As she confessed her terror, he simply smiled and placed his hand over hers. "Fear is just noise," he whispered. "Silence it, and you'll hear the music." In that moment, Ruth understood what had eluded her for years. Fear exists only in thought. It is the mind's chatter that creates anxiety, not the situation itself. When you cease engaging with fearful thoughts, what remains is pure presence. The truth reveals itself. Fear cannot exist in silence. It requires your mental cooperation, your willing participation in its story. The moment you step back from the noise of fearful thinking, you reconnect with the vast power that has always resided within you. Ruth sat at the piano that night, but instead of fighting her fear, she met it with silence. As the mental chatter fell away, something extraordinary emerged, not just music, but pure expression flowing through her. The performance became legendary not for its technical perfection, but for its transcendent power. Ancient practice, meeting fear with silence. When fear arises, pause. Do not resist it or try to make it disappear. Simply bring your attention to your breath. Notice the inhale, the exhale, the spaces between. Keep your awareness here, letting fearful thoughts pass by without engaging them. Practice this whenever anxiety appears. Let the stillness be your sanctuary, your place of power. You'll discover what Ruth learned that night, that fear dissolves not through force, but through silence. Like morning mist dispersing in the warmth of dawn, your anxious thoughts will naturally fade when met with the pure awareness of your breath. This ancient practice holds the key to liberation, for in the depths of silence lies the truth you've always known. Fear is but a shadow that cannot exist in the light of conscious presence. Chapter 19. The Law of Vibration and the Power of Stillness. In the early hours before dawn, Raymond Holt stood at the helm of his fishing vessel, watching the angry waves crash against the bow. For 30 years he had battled the sea, cursing its moods, fighting its temperament. Yet on this morning something shifted in his understanding. You see, the universe operates on the principle of resonance. Like attracts like, energy draws similar energy. Yet most remain unaware of how their internal state creates their external reality. Raymond noticed a pattern that transformed his relationship with the ocean forever. On days when his mind churned with worry, the waves grew treacherous. When anger filled his thoughts, storms seemed to materialize from clear skies. But in those rare moments when peace filled his heart, the waters calmed, almost as if by magic. The truth unveiled itself. The sea was not his adversary, it was his mirror. The law of vibration, ancient as the tides themselves, reveals that everything in existence resonates at a particular frequency. Your thoughts and emotions emit vibrations that ripple outward, attracting circumstances that match their quality. In silence, Raymond discovered, his energy naturally elevated. Without the mental static of fear, judgment, or resistance, his being aligned with the higher frequencies of peace, abundance, and harmony. The ocean responded in kind, becoming not just calm, but cooperative, guiding his vessel to the richest fishing grounds he'd ever encountered. This principle extends far beyond the realm of fishing. When you sit in silence, your vibration naturally rises to match the frequency of your desires. The universe, like the sea, mirrors back your internal state with perfect precision. Ancient practice, the silent frequency shift. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and bring awareness to your current emotional state. Notice the quality of energy within you. Is it heavy or light, contracted or expanded? Now, without trying to change anything, simply rest in silence. Feel how your energy begins to shift naturally when mental noise subsides. Stay here for several minutes, allowing your vibration to rise organically through stillness. This practice reveals what Raymond learned on the ocean, that silence is the gateway to higher frequencies. In the absence of mental resistance, your energy naturally aligns with the vibration of that which you seek to manifest. Like a still pond that perfectly reflects the sky above, your quiet mind becomes a pure mirror for divine intention. When thoughts cease their endless chatter, the sacred frequencies of manifestation flow through you unimpeded, drawing your desires closer with each peaceful breath. Chapter 20. The Silent Shift That Alters Reality. In a small schoolhouse in 1912, Florence Benson paced between wooden desks, her voice sharp as she corrected every mistake. Her students shrank from her approach, their shoulders tense, their minds clouded by fear. She believed learning required constant instruction, endless correction, ceaseless words. Yet transformation arrived through an unexpected source. One morning, exhausted from shouting, she simply sat at her desk in silence. In that moment, something extraordinary occurred. Her students began to flourish. Without the barrier of her words, they explored freely, discovered naturally, grew confidently. You see, the power of silence extends beyond personal transformation. It shapes the very space around you, creating an opening for others to expand into their potential. When Florence ceased filling every moment with instruction, her classroom transformed from a place of tension to a sanctuary of growth. This truth echoes through the ages. Silence is not the absence of action. It is action in its purest form. Like the force of gravity, it operates without sound yet moves mountains. When you step out of the way, cease the endless correction and control, life flows with perfect precision. Florence discovered that her presence alone, when anchored in silence, taught more than her words ever could. Her students learned not just their lessons, but something far more valuable. They learned to trust their own inner wisdom. The ultimate paradox revealed itself. The less she spoke, the more impact she had. Her silence created a field of possibility where true learning could unfold naturally. She had stopped pushing against life and started allowing it to move through her. Ancient practice. The hour of power. Choose 1 hour each day for complete silence. This is not meditation, but rather a practice of being fully present without words. Continue your normal activities, but perform them in total silence. Notice how your energy affects others, how your presence speaks without sound. This practice reveals what Florence learned in her classroom, that silence is not empty, but full of transformative power. In choosing not to fill space with words, you allow the universe to work through you with perfect wisdom. As you embrace these moments of sacred stillness, you begin to sense the subtle energies that words often mask. The ancient masters knew this truth well. In silence, the whispers of universal intelligence become clear, guiding your actions with divine precision. Your presence alone becomes a catalyst for transformation, both within yourself and in those around you. Part 3, Becoming Unstoppable, Silence as a Way of Life. Chapter 21, The Power of Presence Without Words. Harrison Reed returned from the war carrying more than physical scars. His mind, once filled with casual conversation and easy laughter, had grown silent. Not from choice, but from the weight of experiences that defied description. The townspeople whispered about him, wondering why he wouldn't share his stories like the other veterans. You see, there exists a power beyond words, a presence that speaks directly to the soul. Harrison discovered this truth not through seeking, but through surrender. When he stopped trying to explain himself, something shifted. His silence became a force that commanded respect without demanding it. The universe works through such mysteries. Those who have witnessed the deepest truths often find that words fall short. Yet their energy, their mere presence, carries wisdom that language cannot contain. This is why the ancient masters taught more through their being than their speaking. When the young boy approached Harrison in the park that day, something profound occurred. The child recognized what the adults had missed, that true understanding transcends language. In that moment of connection, Harrison realized he had been carrying an unnecessary burden. He didn't need to find the right words. He didn't need to make others understand. His presence alone was enough. This reveals a forgotten truth. Your energy speaks louder than any words you could utter. When you release the need to explain, justify, or convince, you tap into a deeper current of power. Those who master this silence find that others naturally attune to their frequency. Harrison's transformation came not from learning to speak again, but from embracing the power of his silence. His presence became a sanctuary for others, a reminder that some truths are felt rather than heard. Ancient practice. The silent presence. For one day, minimize your speech to only what is absolutely necessary. Move through your world with conscious awareness of your energy. Notice how others respond to your presence when you're not filling the space with words. Observe the quality of connections that form in silence. This practice reveals what Harrison discovered, that your truest power lies not in what you say, but in who you are when you stop speaking. Chapter 22, The Art of Non-Reaction, the Untouchable Mind. In the bustling newsroom of the Daily Chronicle, Eleanor Fitzgerald wielded her red pen like a sword, ready to strike at any perceived slight or challenge to her authority. Each criticism became a battle, each disagreement a war to be won. Her desk overflowed with half-written responses to letters, each defending her editorial choices with fierce determination. The turning point came on a rain-soaked Tuesday when she sought shelter in an old monastery. There, an elderly monk watched as she furiously scribbled another rebuttal. Without looking up from his meditation, he spoke words that would transform her life. Do the waves fight the shore? Number they let the land shape itself. You see, most people believe strength lies in immediate response, in proving themselves right. Yet true power exists in remaining unmoved, like the depths of the ocean beneath its turbulent surface. When you master silence, external forces lose their grip on your inner state. Eleanor began experimenting with this wisdom. When writers complained about her edits, she simply observed their words without rushing to defend herself. When rival newspapers criticized her choices, she let their words pass through her like wind through leaves. A remarkable shift occurred. The less she reacted, the more her influence grew. This reveals an eternal truth. Those who remain silent in the face of provocation access a power beyond ordinary understanding. Like a mountain unmoved by storms, they stand in quiet dignity, while others exhaust themselves against their stillness. The world will always offer opportunities to engage in conflict, to prove yourself right, to defend your position. But ask yourself, does a lion need to prove it is a lion? Does the sun argue with those who curse its heat? Nature teaches us that true power needs no defense. Eleanor's mastery came when she finally understood. Every moment spent defending herself was energy stolen from creation. The less she fought against the current of life, the more effortlessly she flowed toward her desires. Ancient practice, the silent observer. Choose one full day to practice non-reaction. When faced with criticism, pause and feel the urge to defend yourself arise, then gently let it pass. When confronted with negativity, observe it as though watching clouds drift across the sky. When tempted to defend yourself, remain still and notice how the impulse pulses through you before dissolving into calm. Notice how events unfold differently when you step back from the impulse to react. How tensions often dissolve on their own. How others frequently correct themselves in the space of your silence. How peace prevails without effort. Let each trigger become your teacher, showing you the power of your own silence. In this practice, you will discover that the greatest strength lies not in what you do, but in what you choose not to do. Chapter 23, Magnetic Stillness, the Secret of Natural Attraction. In a dimly lit concert hall in Vienna, Theodore Wallace sat motionless before the grand piano. The audience leaned forward, caught in the magnetic field of his stillness. Without touching a single key, he had already begun his performance in silence. You too hold this power within you. Like Theodore, your greatest influence comes not from what you do, but from the quality of your presence before action begins. When you understand this truth, you unlock a force that has moved mountains since time began. Most believe they must fill every moment with movement, with sound, with proof of their worth. Yet true magnetism arises from the opposite, the courage to remain still, to let silence speak through you. This is not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of pure potential, like the pause before dawn breaks across the horizon. Theodore discovered this truth through years of performing. At first, he rushed to prove himself through technical brilliance. But one evening, as he sat in complete stillness before the piano, he felt something shift in the room. The audience held their breath, drawn into his sphere not by music, but by the power of his presence. This same force flows through you when you dare to be still. In those moments when you release the need to speak, to move, to prove, you become like a lodestone, naturally drawing others into your field. This is not a technique to be mastered, but a truth to be remembered. The universe itself operates through this principle. Stars do not announce their light, they simply shine. Mountains do not proclaim their strength, they simply stand. When you align with this wisdom, you tap into the same force that holds galaxies together. Ancient practice, the magnetic field. Find yourself in a social gathering. Instead of filling space with words or movement, remain perfectly still for several minutes. Notice how others begin to orient themselves around your presence. Don't try to be magnetic, simply be still. Like Theodore before his performances, let your silence create a field of attraction. Observe how others naturally draw closer, sensing something powerful in your stillness. This is not about becoming invisible or withdrawn. It is about embodying the kind of presence that needs no announcement. Let your silence speak louder than words ever could. Like the depths of a still lake that draws others to gaze into its mysteries, your quiet strength will create a natural magnetism. Those who master this art understand that true power lies not in dominating space, but in holding it with grace and certainty. In time, you will find that your presence alone carries more weight than 1,000 empty declarations. Chapter 24. The ultimate state of allowing, surrendering to silence. In a small cottage among rolling hills, Martha Ellison moved from patient to patient, her hands working tirelessly to heal every ailment. For years, she believed that healing required constant effort, a forceful redirecting of energy, a battle against illness. Her reputation grew, yet something was missing. You, like Martha, may have fallen into the trap of believing that manifestation requires constant effort, that to create change, you must push, force, and manipulate circumstances into alignment with your will. This illusion has kept countless souls trapped in cycles of struggle. One autumn evening, Martha sat beside Sarah Bennett, a patient in her final hours. Instead of fighting death with her usual determination, Martha found herself stilled by Sarah's peaceful countenance. "I let go," Sarah whispered, "and I am free." Those words pierced through years of Martha's conditioning. In that moment, Martha understood what you are now discovering, that the greatest power lies not in doing, but in allowing. The universe operates through perfect law, requiring no assistance from your striving mind. When you surrender to silence, you align with this natural flow. Martha began incorporating periods of absolute stillness into her healing practice. Rather than forcing energy to move, she became a silent witness to the body's innate wisdom. Her patients healed more profoundly than ever before, yet she was doing less. This paradox holds the key to your own manifestations. The truth that Martha discovered is yours to claim. When you release your grip on outcomes, when you surrender your need to control, the universe moves through you with perfect precision. Silence becomes your gateway to allowing. Ancient practice of surrender. Take a piece of parchment and write down something you have been resisting, a situation, a relationship, an outcome you've been trying to force. Hold this paper in your hands and close your eyes. For the next few minutes, sit in complete silence. Feel the weight of your resistance, then consciously release it to the infinite wisdom of the universe. Let go of how and when your desire will manifest. Simply allow silence to fill the space where struggle once lived. This practice, passed down through generations of those who understood the power of surrender, will align you with the natural flow of manifestation. Like Martha, you will discover that your greatest power lies not in doing, but in allowing life to move through you in perfect harmony. Chapter 25. Speak with intention or do not speak at all. In the bustling courthouse of New York City, Jonathan Myers paced the marble halls, rehearsing arguments in his mind. His reputation rested on his ability to overwhelm opponents with an endless stream of words, each case a verbal battle he won through sheer persistence. You may recognize yourself in Jonathan, believing that more words equal more power, that success comes to those who speak the loudest and longest. Yet the universe holds a different truth. One autumn morning, Jonathan faced Thomas Sterling, a lawyer known for his unusual approach. While Jonathan filled the courtroom with elaborate arguments, Sterling sat in complete stillness. When he finally rose to speak, he uttered just 3 sentences. The judge ruled in his favor immediately. This moment reveals an eternal principle. True power lies not in the quantity of words, but in their quality. When you speak from silence, each word carries the weight of the universe behind it. For days afterward, Jonathan observed Sterling in different cases. He noticed how others leaned in whenever Sterling opened his mouth, how judges paused to absorb his every word. The secret wasn't in Sterling's arguments, it was in the silence that surrounded them. Through Sterling's example, you learn that silence is not about becoming mute. It is about allowing your words to rise from a place of deep stillness, ensuring that each one serves a purpose. Those who master this art find that their influence grows inversely to the number of words they speak. Ancient practice of mindful speech. For 1 full day, speak only when absolutely necessary. Before each word leaves your lips, pause and ask, does this need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said now? Let silence be your default state. Notice how others respond when your words emerge from stillness rather than habit. This practice, handed down through generations of those who understood the power of measured speech, will transform your relationship with words and silence alike. As you embrace this ancient discipline, you'll discover that the spaces between your words hold as much wisdom as the words themselves. Like the sages of old who spent years in contemplative silence before sharing their teachings, you will learn to weigh each utterance with the reverence it deserves, finding that your thoughts become clearer and your impact more profound. Chapter 26, Silence in Relationships, Influence Without Force. In the elegant drawing rooms of Washington, D.C., Vivian Harper moved through social circles with practiced grace. Each gathering became a battlefield where she wielded words like weapons, determined to prove her worth through endless debate. You know this dance, the desperate need to be heard, to be right, to shape every conversation to your will. Yet within this need lies the very force that pushes others away. One evening, exhausted from another heated discussion, Vivian encountered an elderly ambassador's wife who simply smiled and listened as others spoke. When she finally shared her thoughts, the entire room fell silent, drawn to her quiet wisdom. The truth dawns slowly. Influence flows not from what you say, but from how deeply you listen. When you release the need to fill every silence, you create space for genuine connection. As Vivian embraced this wisdom, she witnessed a profound shift. Her relationships deepened. People sought her counsel more frequently. Her presence alone began to carry more weight than her words ever had. In the silence between words lies the essence of true communication. When you stop rushing to respond, when you allow others to fully express themselves without interruption, you access a deeper level of understanding. This is not passive acceptance, it is active presence, the highest form of respect you can offer another soul. The universe speaks through silence, and so must you learn to listen. Each moment of quiet attention builds bridges that no amount of clever argument could construct. Your power grows not through dominating conversations, but through holding space for truth to emerge naturally. Ancient practice of silent listening. Choose one significant conversation today. As you engage, commit to complete presence. Do not plan your response while others speak. Do not interrupt. Simply listen with your entire being. Notice the subtle shifts in energy as the other person feels truly heard. Allow silence to create the connection that words alone cannot achieve. This practice, passed down through generations of wise observers and sacred teachers, will transform your understanding of true communication. Like a precious jewel uncovered from ancient soil, Its wisdom has been preserved by those who recognize that the deepest truths often emerge in moments of stillness. Through the ages, masters and seekers alike have discovered that within this simple discipline lies the key to unlocking profound connections with others and with the eternal wisdom that surrounds us all. Chapter 27. The Mindset of Silent Masters. In the dimly lit workshop of Albert Monroe, time itself seemed to pause. The old watchmaker's weathered hands moved with deliberate grace as he lifted a pocket watch, its inner workings exposed like a beating heart. You may believe, as his apprentice did, that mastery comes from constant motion, from the turning of gears, the ticking of seconds, the endless parade of action. Yet within every masterpiece lies a sacred truth. It is the space between that creates possibility. Look closely at any great achievement. A symphony's power dwells not just in its notes, but in the silence between them. A painter's genius emerges not only through brushstrokes, but through the empty canvas that gives them meaning. Even the universe itself expands not through matter alone, but through the vast stillness that cradles all creation. Albert understood what few ever grasp, that mastery is born in the spaces where nothing seems to happen. When you learn to honor these intervals, to trust the silence between actions, your work transcends mere mechanics and becomes art. Consider your own pursuit of excellence. Where do you rush to fill every moment with movement? Where do you fear the quiet gaps, mistaking stillness for stagnation? True mastery awaits in those very spaces you have been taught to avoid. Albert's apprentice discovered this truth as he watched his mentor work. The young man's hands had been quick but careless, always racing toward the next task. Under Albert's guidance, he learned to pause, to feel the rhythm between adjustments, to let each movement arise from stillness rather than force. The ancient practice of mastery through stillness. Take a piece of paper and write down your daily patterns, your work, your art, your spiritual practice. Next to each activity, mark where you typically rush or force progress. Now, sit in silence and envision how each area might transform if you allowed space between actions. Where could patience replace hurry? Where could trust replace control? Let the wisdom of silence guide your hand as you chart a new course toward mastery. In this sacred practice, handed down through generations of masters, lies the key to transcending mere competence and touching true greatness. Like Albert's watches, your life's work will find its perfect rhythm not through constant motion, but through the balance of action and stillness. Within each pause dwells infinite potential, waiting to guide your next step with divine wisdom. Those who have walked this path before you understood that mastery flows not from endless doing, but from the sacred dance between movement and rest, between seeking and allowing. When you honor these moments of quiet contemplation, your actions become infused with power and purpose that no amount of ceaseless activity could achieve. Chapter 28. The Law of Assumption and the Power of Silent Expectation. In the quiet depths of a small apartment in Manhattan, Matthew Clark discovered what countless seekers before him had found, that the universe responds not to desperate pleas, but to silent knowing. You have been taught that manifestation requires constant affirmation, endless visualization, and ceaseless effort. Yet the deepest truth lies in the opposite direction. When you sit in perfect stillness, already feeling the reality of your desire as an accomplished fact, you tap into a power beyond words. Matthew had spent years chasing his dream, attending every audition, rehearsing every line until his voice grew hoarse. But transformation arrived only when he ceased the endless pursuit. Each morning, before the city stirred, he would sit in absolute silence, allowing himself to feel the weight of success already resting upon his shoulders. In that sacred stillness, he did not hope or wish. He knew. The law of assumption operates with greatest potency when the mind grows quiet. Like a still pond that perfectly reflects the sky above, your consciousness must become undisturbed by doubt or desperation. In silence, you transcend the gap between wanting and having. You simply are what you desire to be. Those who master this art understand that the universe responds not to what you say, but to what you silently know to be true. Your assumptions, held in unwavering stillness, become the blueprint from which reality takes form. Matthew's story reminds us that the most powerful assumption is one that needs no voice. When he released the need to convince himself or others of his potential, when he simply sat in the quiet certainty of his success, the universe rearranged itself to match his inner knowing. The ancient practice of silent assumption. Find a space where you will remain undisturbed. Close your eyes and allow your breath to settle into a natural rhythm. Now, in complete silence, feel the absolute reality of your desire, as if it were already accomplished. Do not picture it as a future event. Experience it as your present truth. Let this feeling saturate every cell of your being. Hold this knowing in perfect stillness for as long as it feels natural. When thoughts arise, simply return to the feeling. This is not an exercise in imagination. It is an alignment with what is already true in the eternal now. Chapter 29, No Mind, the Final Gateway to Ultimate Power. In a small cottage overlooking the misty hills of Vermont, William Lowe sat at his desk, pen poised above empty pages. Like many before him, he believed creation required effort, a constant wrestling with words and thoughts. Yet his greatest poetry emerged not from mental strain, but from moments when his mind grew absolutely still. You have been taught that creativity flows from thinking, from the endless churning of mental activity. But there exists a state beyond thought, beyond the limitations of the conscious mind, the state of no mind. This is not unconsciousness, but pure consciousness itself, unfiltered through the lens of thought. In this state, you become a clear channel through which the infinite expresses itself. The mind, with its endless commentary and analysis, actually blocks the natural flow of creation. When thought ceases, what remains is pure being, and from this emptiness, all possibilities arise. William discovered this truth one autumn morning when, exhausted from forcing inspiration, he simply stopped. In that moment of surrender, when all mental activity ceased, poetry began flowing through him with an elegance he had never known. He became not the creator, but the witness to creation itself. This state of no mind is your natural condition, though the habit of constant thinking has obscured it. When you release the need to narrate, analyze, and control every moment, you step into unlimited potential. This is not a passive state. It is the most active state possible, for you become one with the creative force of the universe itself. The practice of no mind. Sit in a position that allows your body to be both relaxed and alert. Close your eyes and release all effort to control or direct your thoughts. Do not try to empty your mind. Simply observe as thoughts naturally dissolve like clouds dissipating in a vast sky. If thoughts arise, do not resist them. Watch them pass without engagement, maintaining your position as the silent witness. Allow yourself to sink deeper into the space between thoughts, the pure awareness that remains when mental activity ceases. Like a diver descending into crystal clear waters, let yourself settle into this infinite expanse of consciousness. Here in the depths of your being, you will discover a profound stillness that has always existed, waiting to be recognized. Rest here in this state of no mind for as long as naturally occurs. Do not force or strain, simply allow yourself to be. This is not meditation. It is the recognition of what you already are beneath the veil of thought, the timeless essence that has been present since before your first breath. In this space of pure being, you touch the eternal now, where all possibilities exist in perfect harmony. Chapter 30. Silence as a Way of Life, Becoming Limitless. In the quiet hills of Massachusetts, Eleanor Graves lived a life that many would call ordinary. Each morning she would wake before dawn, light a candle, and search for something she could not name. Peace, perhaps, or purpose. She collected wisdom from books, teachers, and distant travels, always believing that what she sought lay somewhere ahead. You too have been searching, haven't you? Looking for that elusive key that will unlock the door to lasting tranquility. Yet what Eleanor discovered in her final years holds profound significance for your own journey. One autumn evening, as she sat in her garden watching the sun paint the sky in gentle hues, something shifted within her. The searching stopped. The striving ceased. In that moment, she realized that silence had never left her. It had been the constant companion of her entire existence, waiting patiently to be recognized. This truth stands before you now. Silence is not a destination to reach or a skill to master. It is the fundamental nature of your being, the canvas upon which all of life's experiences are painted. When you cease treating silence as something to achieve and recognize it as what you already are, everything transforms. Eleanor's discovery marked the end of her seeking. She understood that all those years of searching had actually kept her from seeing what was already present. The silence she yearned for had been carrying her, sustaining her, embracing her through every moment of her life. This revelation is not meant to be understood by the mind, but recognized by the heart. The silence that Eleanor found is the same silence that breathes through you now, that beats your heart, that moves the stars across the night sky. The ancient practice of living silence begins each day by acknowledging the silence that already exists within you. As you move through your daily activities, notice how this silence remains unchanged beneath all motion and sound. Let it guide your actions, your words, your choices. When you find yourself caught in the habit of searching or striving, pause. Remember Eleanor's wisdom. What you seek is not ahead of you, but within you, has always been within you. Rest in this knowledge, letting it permeate every aspect of your life. This is not a temporary practice, but a permanent shift in how you relate to existence itself. The silence is not something you do. It is what you are. Let this truth settle into your bones until it becomes as natural as breathing. Feel how this sacred stillness has always been your deepest nature, waiting patiently beneath the surface of thought and activity. As you embrace this understanding, you'll discover that all searching ceases, all striving dissolves into a profound recognition of your own completeness. In this awareness, every moment becomes an expression of the eternal silence that you are, transforming even the simplest acts into expressions of divine presence. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. In the depths of silence, you have discovered something extraordinary, a power that has always resided within you, waiting to be recognized. This is not merely about quieting your thoughts or finding moments of peace. You have touched the very source of creation itself. Through the stories shared in these pages, you have witnessed how silence transforms ordinary individuals into vessels of extraordinary power. Like Eleanor Graves, who found that peace was her constant companion, or William Lowe, who channeled pure creation through stillness, you now stand at the threshold of your own unlimited potential. The noise that once clouded your mind has dissolved, revealing the crystal-clear awareness that is your true nature. You no longer chase success, you emanate it. You no longer pursue influence, you embody it. The magnetic presence that you observed in others is now your own natural state. Think back to where you began this journey. Remember how your mind raced with endless chatter, how you sought answers in more knowledge, more action, more words. Now you understand that true power moves in silence. Like the depths of the ocean that remain undisturbed by surface waves, your core being stays centered and strong. Your transformation is evident in every aspect of your life. When you enter a room, people feel your presence before you speak. When challenges arise, you meet them with unwavering stillness. Your words, when you choose to use them, carry the weight of the silence from which they emerge. This is the beginning of your mastery. Each day presents new opportunities to deepen your relationship with silence. Every interaction becomes a chance to demonstrate the quiet power you now command. You are no longer swayed by external chaos or internal doubt. You have found your anchor in the infinite stillness within. The universe responds differently to you now. Where once you pushed against life, you now move in harmony with it. Like the watchmaker's gears that turn effortlessly in the space between, your desires manifest with natural grace. You have learned the ultimate truth. In silence lies your greatest strength. You are unstoppable because you have merged with the very force that moves worlds. You are unstoppable because you no longer resist what is. You are unstoppable because you have remembered what you truly are. Pure, limitless awareness, expressing itself through form. Let this knowing settle deep within you. The power you now hold is not something that can be taken away or diminished. It is your natural state, revealed through the dissolution of all that was false. In silence, you have found your true voice. In stillness, you have discovered your infinite potential. If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.